Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about something nerdy, making nicer presentation slides. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mark and I'm a going final year marketing student at NUS Business School. So since my day in the life of a business student in NUS video kind of kickstarted this channel, I haven't really been creating a lot of content regarding college. So we're going to change that this month and I'm hoping to share some content that maybe can add value to your school life. So today we're going to talk about 3 tips that you can use in your school presentation slides to hopefully stand out to your prof. So quick disclaimer, I'm not super good at designing, but some of these tips are also not design based. And I think there's some simple things that you can add to your presentation game. And some of these things I've kind of picked up over the last few years in school and internships. This is probably the most nerdiest thing that you see on my channel, but I'm always quite picky and interested in how people design their slides, because I feel like it does make or break a school presentation. For those who are not in business school, group presentations are usually weighing up to about 30 to 40% of your total grade. So I do think that making nicer slides could be a way to make sure that your prof notices you and your group. Especially now because we are still in Zoom or hybrid university, it's even more important to have more than decent slides because that's about like 70% of what your prof will see on their screen. I'll be focusing a lot more on Microsoft PowerPoint here because for me, Google Slides is probably a bit more limited, and I'll also share some of the best and worst slides that I've made throughout my school life. So let's get started. Generally, there are like 3 types of slide decks that you will usually have to make in university, especially in business school. You have the product and brand presentations, the consulting slides, and the full-on I am artsy creative slides. There may be more, but they probably are going to fall under one of these categories. So tip number 1, keep things simple and clear. So what I usually will do first is to create a draft deck on Google Slides with my groupmates. So just a plain white background and inserting the keywords and figures that will help to support your presentation. And I'll try to not add in too much text or content in each slide if there's no limit on the number of slides from your prof, because most profs want to hear you more than reading a lot of text on that slide. So this is more applicable in modules where you have to present about a product, a brand, or even your final year projects, like mine when I had to do a marketing project for a company. You will also see this kind of examples for pitch decks in startups or tech companies like Google and Facebook. I did a marketing mod on user experience where we had to create an app and present it on Figma, so I decided to follow examples that I saw online for app-based presentations. We ended up building this slide deck with just a purple and light grey colour scheme, using a lot of screen recordings and mockups to show the user interface on the app. And you can see there isn't a whole lot of text and a lot more visuals, so everything is quite clean and easy to follow as you're presenting. This is where you can also highlight key numbers and figures to support your argument. So having blank space, or what's otherwise known as negative space, can help your audience to focus on those parts of the slide. You can also add some trackers to tell your audience where you're at in your presentation, so whoever's listening can really follow what you're saying. Some people may think that this is a little bit plain and too simplistic, but I guess the key here is about keeping things minimal and clear. And obviously don't be like me when I was in year 1 when I first tried to start making this kind of slides. It was super awful, the colours were everywhere, the images were so bad, and recently I just texted my friend to ask her why she didn't stop me when I was creating these slides. We were clueless year 1s. And depending on the time limit of your presentation, there's only that much you can really put into your main slides. So if you have additional content that perhaps isn't as important or could be helpful, an easy way is to just add them into your appendix or your Q&A section. And since you do have a slide limit, you probably can get away with it. So tip number 2, standardize everything. So usually when you have group projects and you're crunched on time, it's quite common for students to just split the work and to manage one part of the presentation themselves. And don't get me wrong, that's super productive and efficient, but sometimes people will forget to come back together and to tie everything down before their presentation. So there is that tendency to have very different styles in the slide, and when you put everything together, it doesn't seem like a group project. It may not be the most important thing that your prof picks up, but I still think it's quite important. So it's probably good to have 1 or 2 people in charge to standardize the slides, or just choose a template that is easy for everyone to follow and adopt so that everything is quite consistent. So from what I know, the standardization of slides, formatting, the font size and the colors are extremely important for consulting or finance slides. These slides are inherently less creative and fun, but it's good to know and practice if you are looking to be in these industries next time. So in consulting slides, you usually have a consistent layout to follow, and you start off with an action title at the top that explains your analysis for the rest of the slide, and then followed by some numbers, charts, and data to support your findings. I'm obviously not in consulting, but I've noticed that you should make sure each slide has its own point and it's clear and detailed. I heard that people in consulting or finance are quite picky on slide formatting, so you probably don't want to be that guy that gets picked out for sections that are not aligned or out of place. So for all my friends out there who are working on a slide deck, the Justify tool is probably your best friend. This helps to make sure that everything's aligned, and you can also consider making a master slide that you can duplicate from and change the information for subsequent slides, so you don't have to worry about aligning each and every slide. The third and final tip is that not all presentation slides have to be boring, and you can get a little bit creative in your school presentations. So I've talked about the consulting type presentations as well as those clean-cut pitch decks. But if you're a freshman or you have a super fun mod like Disney or something, you probably can have more freedom to be a bit more creative in your school presentations. I remember when I was in year 1 and there would always be people making skits or bringing mini prizes to kind of make their presentations more interactive. And these are things that people do to kind of catch the prof's attention. They will also try to make the slide decks a bit more interesting than normal and following a popular trend or theme. So for sure, being creative can consume a lot more time and effort, but it can be worth it and help yourself or your team to stand out a bit more. One of the most extreme presentations I made for mod was called Organizational Behavior in my year 1, and we had to cover a topic on leadership. So what we did was to make our presentation look like a mini video game where everything was pixelated. So as a year 1, you sometimes just go all out, right? So we made some parts of a presentation where we'll get people to answer questions to unlock characters who represented leadership. And everything from the background to the text was in the theme. And even though I think we did quite well for the mod, honestly looking back, I have no idea how people could read those slides because it was just so much going on. So you just kind of have to balance the fun part with making sure it's clear. So here's another example. Last semester I had a level 4000 marketing mod on the business of happiness, and the topic that we worked on were what are youth aspirations in Singapore. So we all know the popular card game in Singapore called the Singaporean Dream. So I designed the slides according to that theme, from the homepage looking like the box to the cards. I even drew a 2D hand on my iPad to make it look like it was taking a card from the deck. So it was too much effort, but everyone in my class did like my group's deck, so I guess it was definitely worth. I also see a couple of creators on YouTube and TikTok posting templates for PowerPoint, including stuff like a Squid Game inspired deck or other K-dramas like Startup. It's pretty cool stuff that you could probably use for your own personal projects or for CCAs, but maybe not as easy to use for your school projects. Alternatively, if your project is a case study of a company or brand, it wouldn't hurt to follow the company's brand colors or even just use their font to just tie everything together. So for example, if you're doing a presentation on Amazon or Airbnb, you probably could adopt the colors of the brand like orange and navy or the salmon pink. It's almost like you're a representative of the company, so you would want to kind of replicate the elements of the brand. I will personally keep the colourful slides to just the cover slides for each section, and then use a light grey or white colour for the text-heavy slides so that it's easier to read. Alright, so those are my 3 tips for making your presentation decks a lot cleaner and more eye-catching. Like I said, it's really not design-based, and these are probably more minor things, but I do think that they go a long way. So let me talk about some resources and tools that you should definitely remember when you're making your next set of presentation slides for school. So firstly, when it comes to colour, you can use this website called Cooler to help you choose the best complementary colours for your slide. All you need to do is to choose colours that you might like from their random generator and pick out the colour code and then add it to your deck. You may also have colours that you like from a particular picture, and you can just take a screenshot of them and add it to your slide. Use the eyedropper tool in PowerPoint to then pull out the colour code and the colour from the image. Another easy but super powerful tool on PowerPoint is the morph transition. I use it all the time to make my slide transitions a bit more interesting. And all you need to do is to take a slide with an image, text or object, duplicate it, and then change the size and positioning of the element. Click morph as your transition, and what you see is some movement of the same element moving between slides. I love this transition a lot because it is a lot more interesting than your typical slide fades, and it's a lot more personalized. Of course, if you're lazy or you have no time to really design your own slides, you can also take templates from popular sites like Canva, SlidesGo, and take free illustrations from places like OpenPeeps. You can also try making interactive slides on Figma and then exporting a PDF version for your prof. I've also created a free template deck for you to download in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. And bonus tip, back then students used to color coordinate their outfits for their presentations, but now I guess with online classes still happening, the next best thing is to have a similar virtual background. I would say this is quite normal in school and treat it as a must-have right now, even though this might be the most obvious thing for students. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this more longer, more informative video. And do let me know if you want more college-related content like this in the comments below. Some of these tips may not be the most necessary depending on how much time you have to prepare for your presentations, but if you do have the time, why not just spoil market and catch your prof's attention with a well done set of slides. So thanks for watching, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.